This video is brought to you by GameMaker. And if you've ever wanted to get into game development, GameMaker does this really crazy thing where it's free. Just start making and only pay when you want to release your game to the world commercially.
It's fast, it's user-friendly, and there's easy-to-follow tutorials, plus a dedicated community to help answer even my questions. How make man jump? GameMaker is a 2D game engine that's helped bring some of yours and my favorite recent experiences to life, like UFO 50, Chicory, Anton Blast, and of course, Yahtzee's own Starstruck Vagabond.
Ooh, we talking about GameMaker? I love that program, it's so easy to use. As well as Starstruck Vagabond, I also used it to make all 12 projects in my 12 games in 12 months Dev Diary challenge. And I couldn't believe how much sex I got out of that. None. I got none at all. Which I couldn't believe.
So what are you waiting for? Head on over to the GameMaker link in the description and start cracking away today, because we want to play your game.
Yeah, looking through this list, I'm seeing one of you made Armpit Fart Tycoon, and I've got several questions for you.
Hello, and welcome to DevHeads, the podcast focused on the ins, outs, and goings on of game development. That mochi's distracting me.
Let me be the first to apologize for Tina's gluttony on screen.
I know, she can't help herself.
Don't condone the consumption of red bean mochi at the beginning of live streams, everybody. So we apologize for her behavior. Please, Jay, continue your wonderful intro.
I forgot where I was. We're devs. We're from Indie, Double, and Triple A. I'm Jay. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host Tina, Mochi Queen.
Hello. How's it going? Echo? Is it Echo? I'll make this better for next time.
It's fine. Tina's got a new setup, but it's okay. We're gonna we can hear you pretty clearly, to be honest. It's totally fine.
And Mikey. Mikey, how you doing, bud?
Hello. I'm good. I'm speaking in a sound dampened room because I'm a professional and I thought ahead.
Mine's just full of shit. We got different strats. I got the place we live in won't let us put stuff on the walls, so like
you have
fill
to
it with shit
against the wall.
Yeah, I'm like, well, if I can't hang up this poster, I'll guess I'll strew shit everywhere. And that's the dice.
Yet again, Double A beating Triple A. Story of the year.
100%. Game of the year is Mikey's room because of how sound dampened it is.
Thank you. It was going to be double A. It was going to be double A eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, have your weeks been okay? I hope you haven't been affected by the turbulent nature of this week. It's been a pretty wild one.
Yes, it has.
A lot of the times we're thinking of topics to speak about for the podcast, and we're like, okay, what kind of things has happened in the news? What kind of things are happening in the industry right now? And I think this one was probably our easiest one to be like, yeah, we're going to talk about this.
Absolutely, everyone is talking about this. Yeah,
because it's really, really important and it's very big. And I think even the people who are downplaying it maybe don't understand how big this situation is. And what we're going to be talking about today is the buyout of EA. And all of the things that may come from that. But before we jump into that, we've all, to varying degrees, experienced what it's like to be bought out by another major company. And I'd love to kind of speak to some of our experiences first before we dive into the much bigger one with EA. But Mikey, could you start us off with some of your experiences with stuff like this?
Yeah, I've had two experiences. When I was at New World Interactive, New World Interactive got acquired by Saber Interactive, which was a part of Embracer Group. That was when Embracer was buying up a lot of studios at the time. And then as things went on, as we all know, or as maybe some of us don't know, a lot of those studios ended up needing to lay people off, and they, I think, shut down some outright, shut down projects. I left before the layoffs happened at New World Interactive, which really sucked. And so I can't speak too much about them because they happened afterward. But I was there for the acquisition of Saber Interactive. And one of my kind of lessons from that, I guess, or experiences with it that I want to insist to people is sometimes it's subtle or it's slow. Because honestly, the changes that happened, if there were changes, like I didn't really experience because I wasn't there. So I was there for a part of it. I guess I was there for like, I think I was there for like 6 months to a year after the acquisition, maybe 3 to 9 months, something like that. And I didn't see too much change, which could be a testament to just like Saber and Embracer like not interfering, but also it was just it could also just as easily be the fact that, well, I wasn't there for long enough to see. Eventually, of course, the layoffs happened, right? And the argument could be made that that was as a result of a consequence of the acquisition. But it would kind of be speculation. I just can't speak too much to it. So there's that one experience that I had. And then there was the other one, which is when I was at Meta. I was with the studio that got acquired by Meta and joined Meta. And there's definitely a lot of communication that needs to happen, as you could imagine, when it comes to those. I was there for like, I just joined the team, like basically as they were joining Meta. And it was a very, very different studio culture, right? You could imagine like a big corporation like Meta, and then the culture of Downpour Interactive, the team that made Onward. That was difficult in ways where there were different expectations, right? Like the way that Meta, the big company, did things, and the way that we did things, being a smaller company. There was a lot of stuff to figure out. I think the biggest department that gets affected by these kinds of things, and this is just my experience, is and like not just my experiences, but also talking to other people, is probably production. A lot of indie teams like don't have a solid or clear pipeline to other people who come in and look at you and say like, all right, well, we acquired you. Like, how the hell does stuff get done? And it does get done. Like, you got acquired for a reason, right? You shipped something, you have promise, usually or hopefully, but not everybody can see that. So taking like conventional production and indie production is a potential point of friction in my experience and from people that I talk to.
Yeah, it's a bit more scrappy, right? It's like this stuff needs to get done and we have deadlines, and it kind of just there's less of a strict plan of like, okay, well, in this quarter these are the things we need to get finished, and it's like things get done but kind of all over the place, because that's how the smaller teams kind
Easily,
of operate,
yeah.
because everyone's working on different things, right? Like the level design is also doing some 3D modeling and X, Y, and Z, and so the plan's a little bit more all over the place, and I could see how that would be kind of unattractive to bigger companies. They want, I'm sure, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't deal with things on this scale, I'm indie, but they'd want things more, well, who's working on what when, and when are we going to get it, right? Like in terms of this level design, like this block out, like when's all this going to get done, so they can plan things more, right? Is that the case?
Because every team has a different pipeline and workflow for their production. And to be clear, when I say production, I mean you have producers, right? You have team leaders who try to organize and say, here's the things we're doing for this month of development. Here's the things we do the next month. You have task planning, right? You have software like platforms like Jira that you use to plan out how the game gets made. And you have different types of development, agile development. You have different things like waterfall, like Kanban boards and shit. Like there's all these different kinds of things that an indie team might just not use at all. But then the bigger company that buys them out does, and they expect you to get up onto their level. Can be one of the things that happens, but it really depends. It really depends.
I think on paper, you would imagine that if someone's spending 200 million, 300 million on funding your game development, that you want some sort of accountability in terms of scheduling and tracking and knowing exactly who does what, Jay. So I think that's where AAA, that kind of thought process comes into play. Not to say that that's actually reality. I don't know if, schedules are a very delicate thing. They change all the time. So
Yeah.
I think AAA teams do the best they can. But anyways, acquisitions. I went through 3, I think, in my career. 2 of them at 1UP, EGM. And then one went, well, actually, does the merger between Neversoft and Infinity Ward count? Then if that does, that's 4.
I think so.
Yeah. Let's count it. Yeah.
So yeah, then I've been through 4. It's just crazy. The the very first time I've gone through it, I had a meeting invite with just like 20 other people at One Up out of like the 40 or 50 of us, maybe 15. And it was in a meeting room, and then everyone else had a separate meeting, and I was terrified, like, what is this about? And in that tiny room, the walls were made of glass. So I watched as all of my colleagues were escorted out by security and boxes. Like there was people holding boxes for them. They were holding their own stuff. They were packing up their desks. And I was sitting there, like waiting to see what was going on. And it was a really sad day. I think that was probably the hardest because it was the first and also the most terrifying purchase that I've been through. By the time Respawn was purchased by EA, I feel like I was a veteran in terms of experiencing this stuff. The initial major change was, just basic things like healthcare, who your coverage is different depending on whatever company buys you. And again, this is like a merger because it's a major publisher buying a big studio. So, we had our own marketing person in-house, but EA had their own marketing team and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of overlap. And then the biggest difference I noticed for me personally was the way I do production or did production for Respawn was very different from the way the rest of EA approached production. They have two different tracks for producers. One's called a development director. And from what I understand, a development director is in charge of schedule, but has no idea about what the content of a feature is. Or maybe they do, but they're not expected to help drive those features along. It's very strange. And then like the producer is more, I guess, ingrained in the dev team and helps motivate people along the way. I have no idea. I don't know why they're separate. It's very strange for me personally. I would never want them separate. I think it's one job. You gotta do both.
Yeah.
If you want a feature to do well, you gotta understand how long it takes and who you're gonna impact. So yeah, I was kind of caught up in that where promoting me wasn't necessarily a thing. So yeah, that was strange. But this particular news story this week is not a merger of any kind. It's 3 different companies
Buyout,
buying this thing and making it private.
So
on a surface level, just for our listeners to understand what that means, right now EA is listed on the stock market, and every quarter, I believe, they have a meeting where they discuss with shareholders how the company's doing, what they plan to release, how their current projects are holding up. And so that kind of public-facing information is going to go away. Right? And I do wonder, like, there's a lot of unknowns right now. Like, I know that the Sims community is concerned because they don't know if their game's going to change.
Same with Mass Effect.
Yeah, and
Dragon Age.
I think every gamer's wondering, like, what does this mean? And when you see a number like 50 billion, that's insane. That's insane money.
It's crazy money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to have a drastic effect on everything, and we'll get into a lot of that and some of our theories on how that will all play out later. Because a lot of this won't be finalized until I think the start of the fiscal year in 2027 is when everything's going to fully go into effect. And so the effects of all of this and where the potential layoffs and everything are going to happen is probably going to happen potentially into next year and in a little bit further on. But everything we're saying of how we think this is going to affect the industry as a whole, or EA and the other dev teams, is all speculation. None of what we're saying is fact. We're just using our educated perspectives of working in the industry to say all that. But one thing I wanted to go over before that is Tina had a great idea for speaking about some of the games that they now own, or like have the rights to publish, or could potentially publish. And we've got a few written down here. A Bard's Tale is now with them. The Saudis now own a Bard's Tale. We've also got Black and White, done for. You know. Oh, Mikey, you seem
Mikey, you're
muted.
muted.
I'm laughing. I'm saying we're finally going to get another black and white. Now it's going to happen. This is the
another
shakeup that it took to get another black and white. Hooray!
What about another Peggle? We could get another Peggle. We were joking in our meetings that maybe the Saudi prince is just like a massive fan of one of these games and just bought it just to be like, I want another one of those. That would be really funny. Immortals of Avium.
Maybe he wants to play Titanfall 3.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we don't.
I would respect
the truth
that.
Is we don't fully surely know, and people with lots of money and power have done wilder things, right? And they can easily do things that are just very personal for them because they have money and power. So as much as we laugh, I don't think it's that ridiculous to expect like an IP to get revived or something. Like, I don't know. I think Bezos might have just really liked The Expanse, right? Wasn't he responsible for having brought that back? Maybe it was just him liking the show. Yeah. It might have been that simple. I don't know enough details.
You know, and that happens with like publishers. Publishers are picking up games and, you know, funding indie teams because they like the look of like what they're doing and think, you know, this looks really cool. And it's not just we think this could sell. It's also, yeah, this looks really cool. We want to see this exist. It's not all just from a money perspective. So maybe at this 40 billion scale, it's the same thing. They're like, hey, EA, you've been doing they're having a bit of a resurgence. Let's see if we can inject some more life into it. I don't think they will. I think they're putting some nails in a coffin. But yeah, maybe they just love Burnout and they're like, I miss Burnout. I want more Burnout. And fair play to them because I also love Burnout. Hazelight Studios from the It Takes Two and Split Fiction. It's now owned by them. Medal of Honor, Spore, Crisis, Dungeon Keeper, James Pond, a favorite of Tina's.
James
Wing
Pond,
Commander.
guys, with a P like Papa.
Yeah, a P like Pond. Like
We gotta get
bottle
Eric
of
time
water.
to pick up the box art. You gotta show that shit.
You got to show the James Pond box art. Eric, this is a request from Tina.
And while he pulls it up, to be clear here, this isn't necessarily like they own each of these studios and each of these IPs now.
Yeah.
These are IPs. They either own the studio or they've published the IP. They've worked with them before, and we just haven't seen them for a while. There's James Pond. Yeah. What kind of suit is that? Is James Pond he's a frog, right?
He's a frog, right?
His last name's Pond. Okay, I get it.
Look, you guys,
there
when
we
you
go.
buy EA, you buy this franchise.
That's what they were going for.
This is what they're after.
The Saudis
Super
love
James
James Pond.
The S in Super James Pond stands for Saudi. That's just what it is.
Oh, so if it's the S alliteration here, we're going to get another Spore, is what you're saying. Okay. Here comes
100%.
Spore, everybody.
I like Spore.
See how that is.
I like Spore.
Diphtheria
Alex-
says he's a goldfish. Is he a goldfish? Hold on. I know this is big news, everybody, about EA, but I need to figure out if James Pond is a frog.
We
or
need
a
to know what's
goldfish.
happening to James Pond.
He is a goldfish. Because in some of the pictures, okay, he's a goldfish for two reasons. One, if you look, he's golden colored and he has fins at the bottom. Two, the full title of the 1990 game is James Pond: Underwater Agent. And frogs aren't really known for going underwater for long periods.
This is true.
Thank you.
He's in space there. So what?
Does he have feet in that one?
He's walking and also is in space, which is
Can we?
I think the opposite of underwater. I love. So by the way, listeners, Tina
opposite.
isn't quizzitively listening.
Can we
like a
change the stream
statue?
title
Her power's gone.
to "Where's James Pond from"? That'll get us.
So Tina will be back momentarily. But
wait, did
I
she
will.
freeze?
Yeah, she's frozen.
Oh,
She's
fuck.
not just listening very intensely.
She looks so sly right now. For those who
I
can't
know
see
it's
her
a
right
great
now.
way to freeze. Whenever I freeze when my internet goes on these streams, I'm always like doing like a crazy face.
I'm gonna text her and let her know just in case. Please continue, Jay.
Yeah. She's messaged to say she knows that her power's gone.
Okay, then she's aware.
She
Go
said
on.
it. She
All right.
said it happened right when I said Saudi. So I think we all know what's happening.
There was intervention.
Yeah, we all know what's happening. I will not dither. Oh, actually, should we dither and delay until Tina might not come back?
Well, let's talk a little bit more. I'm curious to hear from other people. Like, what are some EA IPs, people they've published, or ones that they own,
Yeah, in
that
chat.
we're forgetting about here? What is now as a possibility because there's a new leadership shakeup? But again, like in this, we're going to talk about this a lot. But like, there could just as easily just be nothing interesting like that happening. In fact, it's probably more likely would be, I think, most of our agreement, right? We're probably not going to get another Army of Two or Black or Black and
James
White.
Pond. We ain't getting another James Pond, and that makes
We're
me
probably
incredibly
not going to.
sad.
I'm sorry, guys, but like now that
Hey.
we've all had our laughs, we're probably
But
not
technically, we are not from EA, but we are getting a spiritual successors to Wing Commander in another 10 years. Thanks, Star Citizen.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. Because
But
it's
not from
possible.
EA.
What if these three companies they get together and they're like, look, we have to show up Star Citizen. We're bringing back Wing Commander, and then we have Star Citizen finally have some competition. And what if they crowdfund it? What if it makes a shitload of money? Wait, why am I moving? Eric's moving my my video.
Yeah, because Tina of disappearing has messed up the
Yeah.
cameras. Big shout out to the podcast producer Eric in the background fixing everything
Yes.
while these little things happen. We apologize everyone that Tina has disappeared, but I'm sure when she comes back, she'll have some hot, fresh
That's
opinions.
okay. Let's roll with it. Are there any IPs we're
Yeah.
forgetting? Obviously, we know the big ones, right? Like Mass Effect, Battlefield, all that
Mhm.
kind of thing. But it will be interesting, even though I think it's unlikely. That would be a funny thing, and I wouldn't put it past, again, a person with money and power and particular taste to do something kind of wacky.
Oh,
Right.
don't they own? I might
Command
be
and Conquer?
misremembering because
Yeah,
I think
go
a bunch of different companies own the rights to publish Star Wars games. But isn't the Fallen Jedi and Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor and stuff EA?
Yeah. Well, that's Respawn, right? Am I mistaken?
Well, there we go.
Hold on. Jedi Fallen Order. Let me double check.
Yeah, I'm checking.
Yeah, it was
Respawn.
Respawn. It was published by. Yeah, so we could get another one of them for all we know. Command and Conquer. It would be interesting to see Command and Conquer get an overhaul. You know what I'd like to see? I don't know why the new ownership would want this. I want to see Command and Conquer combined with Squad. I want to see Arma and Command and Conquer thrown together. Imagine you're playing like a hyper simulation style game like Arma, or like a high teamwork based game like Squad. They're both teamwork
Yeah.
based. And you have the flame tank and the subterranean tank and the people who are mutated by the Tiberium fighting alongside you. But it's all like fucking, with the hardcore, slow paced gameplay of Arma.
Of like a
Squad.
mill
That should be
sim.
badass. Yeah.
Yeah, that would
We'll
be.
see it
I'd
now.
really like to see a blending of those genres because I like mill sims in general, but I feel like, well, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're simulating military engagements. It is grounded in realism, depending on the time period. I would like
Yeah.
to see one that has a more grounded gameplay loop, but is based on crazy,
Exactly.
outlandish
What a contrast that would
things.
be.
Yeah.
We've all
I think
seen
it'd be
the
really cool.
trend. We've all seen the trend of like a lot of tac shooters like SCP-5K, and there's other Beautiful Light. There's other examples that are taking tactical milsim style aesthetics and gameplay,
Yeah.
and they're combining it with the supernatural. But what if it was tactical milsim style shit and just the weird, like Command and Conquer?
I
versus
like the
area?
sounds of that. I also think Charlie's got a point in chat. Thank you for your
probably-
suggestions and what games they might bring back. Charlie Wagner says, I'm sure they'll bring back Anthem. That's it. The Saudis are just obsessed with Anthem and that it got
They're
shut down.
thirsting for Anthem, dude.
And they're like, that game didn't get its heyday. Like, let's bring it back. Let's pump a couple billion into an Anthem 2.
Yeah. I think someone here, Independent Courier, says single player content, all caps, with MTX is on the menu, guys. That is what is coming. ROI, return on investment. Yeah, look, like we're being fun and silly here, but like it could just as easily and perhaps is even more likely just going to be, all right, just stick to Battlefield and FIFA and like the usuals, and we're not going to rock the boat. And that's that. Easily.
Yeah. But how they continue to do those things is they might be like, let's what for now for the next 5 years for the first cycle, let's just focus on the things that are working, but also let's try and cut costs. And like how they might do that is really interesting. But we'll get into that a little bit later. What I want to talk about is the actual acquisition itself and how we've been joking about a lot about like the Saudis. But it's actually like a combination of different groups coming together to make this huge purchase. It's absolutely massive. And that's Silver Lake, Affinity Partners, and Savvy Games Group. And Savvy Games Group is the one that is the Saudi public fund, which I believe is largely funded by the Saudi prince, the ruler of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, they have a big, I forget what they called it. I'll look it up. But there's a big, as far as I understand, there's a big push in Saudi Arabia try to pivot toward tech, right, and get invested in tech. And there's like a government fund or a public fund that is putting money into all these different tech things. We'll talk a little bit about it in a minute, but like they bought up other stakes in other game studios too. And this is this seems like it's part of that initiative, right? And then there's also the private groups like Affinity Partners and Silver Lake. The Saudi one's called Savvy Games Group.
Savvy Games Group, yeah, and very easy to look up, see what they're doing. They've been doing a few games. They've got Monopoly Go is theirs, Stumble Guys, which is just a ripoff of Fall Guys. Star Trek Fleet Command and WWE Champions is them. They've funded those games, and they're just also a huge investor. They invest in what they say is Hero Esports, which is the largest esports company in Asia. They're a big investor for them, and they are just trying to diversify away from like Saudi Arabia in general is trying to diversify away from just oil and pivot into other things. And this massive buyout of EA is, I think, one of their major, the major investment into doing that. But the question is, have they gone about it the right way, and are they going to have the know-how to maintain EA being a profitable thing?
Yeah.
Because one of it was they say they've bought it, and again, I want to reiterate, this isn't all going to be finalized till 2027. But to make this deal happen, they've had to take out a 20 billion loan. I think it was a 20 billion loan that they have to pay back. So it's not like they've just all come together and they've just splashed a bunch of cash to make this go private. They've taken money out to make this happen, and they somehow have to make that money back. And the question is, how do you do that? Because 20 billion is a ridiculous amount of money. And AAA makes a lot of money, but 20 billion is a lot. And unless you make drastic changes, how are you going to do that? Like, and Mikey, like, how could you see a company making 20 billion back? Like, how could you see someone doing that? Because I can't.
Well, my interpretation, what I've read a lot online, and I agree with what I think are the pretty intuitive expectations, I guess, or interpretations, takes on this is they're going to lean heavily on saying, well, we got to lay people off so we can save costs, year over year, and we also need to use AI to make up for having less people and just to making games happen faster at no cost to their value, or a little cost to their value, but we don't care because the net is going to be more money. That's what I think makes the most sense. I don't see too much of a situation where they can make that money back without having to do at least a little bit of both those things. I think both of them would even happen regardless because of all the other factors that have led to the layoffs that have happened to this point. Right. And also because everybody's trying to use AI to save time and money, that's its own conversation. So, I think those two things are probably what they would lean on more to say, well, that's okay. Let's just make this team smaller. Also, I think that my guess would be you're going to see things like anytime a game releases under their portfolio, they specifically are going to just plan to lay people off, as already happens, as we saw with Marvel Rivals, right? As we've seen with other games and other studios. Mine included New World Interactive, right? Layoffs happened
Yeah.
a few years after, I guess, a release, so it wasn't that timed. But you get what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
doing like a live service game usually doesn't require as many people. And if that's all you're doing with the team, then yeah, of course you would lay people off because you're not taking the risk of making another game for whatever reasons.
Yeah, I think some of the things I can see happening are not good for the dev and are not good for the end user, like the gamers. I think my stance is that based on the speculation and also the conversations we've all been having with other devs in the industry in very, very different amounts of positions, nothing good can come from this. This is like any situation they go down to make this money back, which, by the way, is their number one priority right now, is to make that money back, like so they can start making money. They're either going to have to, one, rapidly release a bunch of different games to get more sales, which means the dev cycles are going to be cut down, and that games are going to get pumped out, which means lower quality, and it kind of returns us back to like, yearly or 2-year cycles for like big games, and I think that's unhealthy for the devs. I think that's bad for the users because the quality of the product's going to go down. Or they're going to go the other route, cut the costs of their development, lay off a bunch of people and try and replace it with AI, which is a very, in terms of game dev, actually in terms of any industry, is a very ignorant tech bro way of thinking that like, well, we can just replace people with AI. Because we're not at that point with AI where entire like suites of jobs can be replaced one for one. They can supplement and make things faster, but they're not going to replace those people. And if the higher ups at these companies are going to be like, well, let's reduce like 50% of our art workforce and use AI instead, the complications they're going to run into is going to be crazy, or it's all going to just be absolute slop. And the end user is going to be playing these terrible churned out AI generated games. And they're going to see huge backlash from that. And it's just, none of that is good. And the work-life quality for the devs is just going to go down. It's specifically the debt. If it was, we've gone private and they want to fund it and make that money for themselves and they leave the devs alone, because we've seen, as you mentioned, we've seen acquisitions where they're hands off. They're just like, cool, yeah, go for it. But as things go, and I've experienced some of this. I don't want to speak too much about it because I don't want to get a cease and desist. But I've been part of an acquisition, as in games media, and things were fine for a year, and then people's fingers start coming, and you need to do this, you need to do that. Oh, do you know that all that money you made? Oh no, well, we're allocating it to this other team and saying they earned it. But so you're not making enough, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And because they just want money, they want more. They don't want sustainability, they want more. And this 20 billion debt is just that times 100, right? It's not, let's see how this company does, let's slowly grow it. It's, oh, hi, we've acquired you. You guys are in the red now because you're 20 billion in debt. Make it back, right? And it's on the devs to make that back. And I just think that's crazy.
There was an interesting thing brought up in the chat that I think that makes me wonder about like the way to make money back of selling off the IP, right? Like, all right, shit, we have to make a bunch of money, and how much would hey, we have this thing, Mass Effect, how much do you guys want for it? And that's something I think that could reasonably happen, is selling off a bunch of those IPs to make some money back. Maybe the ones that are like, we haven't seen a game for in a while, like Medal of Honor or something, still have some value. I don't know. It's tough to imagine that one for me, though, because these are all AAA IPs. And what's been happening over the past few years is people specifically are very afraid to invest in AAA IP, and buying an IP like Mass Effect, a game that, when was the last release? Would it have been Andromeda, was it? Right?
Andromeda, they also did a remaster of 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
But I think Andromeda was the last mainline title.
Right, yeah. The remaster
Which was
just
ages
maybe
ago.
goes to show what I was even saying, which is like how much how valuable is that? How valuable is that
2017.
in the current year? 2017, yeah. It's been a long ass time. Yeah, it's beloved as an IP and as a brand, but geez, that's like pretty risky, I think, for any studio to buy any. So I could see them selling off some IP, but I also wonder like how many people are looking to buy those. I mean, there's money going around and it's a big IP, so maybe it would be interesting. It
Yeah.
seems like a pretty good tactic, so I would be curious to watch for that one. And it could mean, like, jokes aside from all of our things, like, oh, one of the owners will love black and white, so they'll make another black and white. They might be able to get some money for Medal of Honor, Mass Effect, black and white, even maybe, because they do sit on some IPs that are iconic and have some history to them. Even if it's a bad
Yeah.
idea and the studio that gets it does a bad job, there could be some value to be gained there to pay back the debt.
Yeah, but there's also the idea that when they've bought EA and they've made it go private, what they're buying is effectively the workforce and the IPs. They're buying the rights to all of these games. And if we're looking at Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Battlefield, even into the recent Star Wars games, the main thing they're buying is that. And if they sell off even a couple of those major IPs to make some money back, they'll only have a handful left. And it's then what do you do? I think it's more likely that what they'll do is just churn out a bunch of games from these major IPs. And if the rumors of AI and workforce layoffs are true, we're going to get churned out games that are of half the quality of usual AAA games, and they're just going to hope they make their money back, which just seems silly. Like, it depends how quickly they want to make this money back, right? But then how quickly can you make 20 billion back, right? It's
probably,
ridiculous.
I guess it's probably going to be a little bit of everything, because that's what you would want to do anyway, right? Is try to make more money out of the situation. When you buy something, you want to make it better, right? So all these initiatives, I have to imagine easily all of these could happen. They try to sell off some IP. They lay off a bunch of people and say just use AI. They focus workforces on different projects. Like maybe once Battlefield 6 releases, a ton of people work on Battlefield 6. They've talked about it publicly. They have studios all over the world, a bunch of them. I don't know how many, but it must easily be like hundreds of people. Maybe not even counting the contractor studios that have worked on it too, right? So they must be going like, okay, well, you guys, we're going to send you over here on this other new thing that we're doing, or thing using one of the existing IPs that we think is a good idea, or I don't know. All of these elements, I feel like, could easily just come into play all at once. It doesn't have to be like one more than the other.
Yeah, there's lots of different things that could happen, but and we'll get into this. We have Tina wanted to introduce this because she had a great idea, but we've been talking to and got a load of statements from other developers in the industry and bringing their thoughts. And after going through all of those and reading them, like I just don't think anything good can come from this. I think there's, even if they're like, oh, we're going to sell off a couple IPs, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, for the devs or for the end user, this is just a bad thing. And that's not even to go into like some of the things that Tina wanted to raise but isn't here to do so, which is one, she wanted to raise localization considerations. Like, now that a major part of EA is owned by the Saudis, they have completely different laws for how they represent certain things and the representations of certain things. So are things in these major IPs, in your Apex Legends, are certain characters going to see alterations? Are certain characters going to see changes? Are planned things that were in these games going to have to change because of the influence top down from these owners? And that's something that as a dev is, I don't know, terrifying. Like as an indie dev, if I was making my game and someone came in and was like, hey, because we're investing in the game, we've decided that we don't like your main character. You need to make them macho man, and he needs to have 5 guns. And I'm like, but this is a puzzle game. And they're like, yeah, but we know that macho boys sell, so you're going to do that. And I'm like, yeah, but that will ruin the game. Like,
I think
these things happen.
I'm of the, and I'm, I'm ready to be proven wrong. Like I have no idea. We're all just, this is super speculative, right? And we're not saying that because we're
100%.
trying to cover our asses. We just genuinely like, nobody knows what's going to happen. That's the reality. We can't know.
Yeah.
My interpretation is I don't see much of that happening. I don't think they care enough to influence creatively. And also, we don't know how much the Saudis specifically own of this. As far as I know, like correct me if I'm wrong, we don't know what their piece of this is, how big that piece of the pie is.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at other places, I pulled up an article from a GameSpot here earlier. It's called the PIF, stands for Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, and their subsidiary is Savvy Games Group, right? And as Jay mentioned earlier, they've already put money into and own companies that have been like working with them or under their ownership, at least partially, for a little bit of a while. For example, EA itself, the PIF, already had a 9.9% stake, apparently, in Battlefield and Madden. If you also look on, you can see, hold on, there was another that was interesting. They've also owned parts of Nintendo. It fluctuated over the years. They owned roughly 5% in 2022, but then they became the Japanese company's biggest outside stakeholder in 2023 with an 8.26% investment. They also own 3.5% of Take-Two. They own 14 million shares of Activision Blizzard, or about 2% of the company, which is 1.4 billion in 2021. So, like, based on that evidence that like they've owned pieces of these other companies, and we haven't seen like or heard about to this point the creative influence, for whether it's because of their own laws or because of whatever they want to express out and put out into the world culturally, that hasn't really happened, I don't think. So I don't have a suspicion that's going to happen again, mostly just because I think they don't care that much. They're going to be less interested in trying to alter things creatively and more interested in just, okay, well, how are we going to make more money out of the company?
Make
that
money.
Could lead to creative. That could lead to creative alterations, of course, but I see it more as being like strategic initiatives than it is getting down to the weeds on the micro level and saying, well, you can't have characters like this, or you must have characters like this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a valid conversation to have of like, could that happen? I think Tina raising that in our meetings and wanting it to be a topic is completely valid. I do agree with you that I think it is going to be more of a money making thing, because at the end of the day, that's we've been making jokes, and there have been things of maybe the Saudi prince just loves black and white, but games make a lot of money, and I think these investors just want a major slice of that pie, and EA is a major slice of that pie. They are a huge company, one of the biggest. So I think that's where it's coming from. But even through that, I think that's just where we're going to see most of the complications, is when they start to see that these games aren't making as much money as they would like. We saw that with Ubisoft, with releasing some of their smaller indie projects. 1.3 million copies sold for the recent Prince of Persia Metroidvania. That's a lot of sales, but Ubisoft, this massive company, are like, nah, that's not enough. We're going to split this team apart and put them on different projects. Put them on Far Cry 10, because that makes more. And it might not be a direct like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that, but it's more of a, your thing isn't making more money than God, so you have to go now, either be laid off or work on the thing that makes more money than God. So it's not direct creative influence, but it is there.
And there's already been unrealistic expectations held to EA so far. Maybe it could be because this deal has been talked about for a while, and maybe the expectations came from them, or at least came from people internally that knew they wanted to do the sale or whatever. But I think it was something like they wanted 100 million players or something, or 10 million players. It was some ridiculously high number.
Ridiculous.
And I don't know what that is. Like, I assume that's sales, like hopefully not concurrence at any given time of the day. But that those high expectations are already there. So imagine them getting even higher potentially when people who aren't connected to the expectations of the industry, like these private funds, like a Saudi public fund, would expect of games when they know that games are supposed to make lots of money. So yeah, I definitely understand people's concerns that like nothing about this is good. There's when we get into some of these quotes, like when we talk to you guys and we show you some of the things that other developers have said, which we'll get into whenever. There's a couple comments in there that I think are worth discussing. So I'll kind of hold my opinion until we get to that point.
100%, yeah. Why don't we go through some of the donations that have come in, and then we can get into some of the developer quotes that we've been getting.
Sure. And just an update from Tina I got. She said she might be able to join in 20 minutes, but her power keeps tripping over. So again, sorry everybody, but Tina's dealing with a power issue because that's what this place, Los Angeles,
the Saudis.
is like sometimes. It was the Saudis. They targeted her power. They zapped it from a
they have the power to do that. If you
Saudi
don't
satellite.
buy the microtransactions in Jedi Fallen Daddy, whatever the third one's called.
Upcoming Jedi Fallen Daddy. I like that.
Yeah, if you don't buy the special lightsaber skin on the main screen, they zap your power and they turn your computer on. It happens. Once again, everyone.
The special lightsaber is green because lightsabers in Star Wars are usually like one color, but like the Saudi flag, it's got white markings in it. So you're gonna get some national
it's that
pride
creative
to be
influence.
expressed
It's that creative
via
influence,
lightsabers.
dude.
There it is. Yeah.
For everyone watching and everyone who's donated, thank you so much. This show and everything here on Second Wind is funded directly by you guys. So we massively appreciate all of that goes to keeping the shows like this alive and also feeding Ludo. So if we're going to be going through developer quotes after this, but if you have any questions that you want to fling us, feel free to donate or we'll try and catch them in the chat and we'll try and ask them if we get through the quotes. But we have quite a few quotes because it turns out developers have a lot of thoughts on this in general. So S6 gives $5 says, but Tina, will the Crown Prince greenlight Titanfall 3? Jokes aside, I feel 95% of gamers care not for whence the game is made. Should they? From whence the game is made, should they? Should they care about where a game is made? I think one of the things is just, as a consumer, think of it like free-range eggs and just normal eggs, right? It's up to you as a consumer to put your standards and your money where you believe you're fine with it going. Are you fine with chickens being, held in pens of millions and it just being shit and piss and terrible conditions for them to lay their eggs or you get your chicken, or do you want to support free range stuff? But that's just, there's always a gripe, but it's up to you as a consumer to do that research yourself and to think if you care. If you just want to play Battlefield, go for it. But some people might not want to play it because of this new acquisition for whatever personal reason they have. And I think both decisions are valid. Like death of the author is also a big thing. Like, do you stop enjoying a book because suddenly the author is a massive transphobe piece of shit? Not talking about any book in particular. But yeah, it's up to you as a consumer to make that decision.
Yeah, I would say it's hard to answer the question, should they? Because, I mean, it just depends on how that person wants to live. If they want to live and they don't care, they feel like, well, my dollar is so insignificant, or I really need to spend like I want because I have a mental health issue, and I'm not gonna and games are important for me, and I just need to do this. Or if you have like a certain belief system where you're like, actually, like, while other people hate this person because of a thing that they said, or other people hate this company because of a practice they do, I don't care about that practice. So it's hard to say, like, should they care about the ethics or should they not, because it's so personal in those ways. It's if you're the kind of person who tries to live life where you only put money toward companies or businesses that do things ethically, and you want to make sure that you maintain that, then yeah, of course you should dig. If you don't really care that much, or you feel again like your money is just a small drop in the ocean, then I guess you shouldn't. So I think it's a bit of a hard question to answer, and it's just so personal, and
it's super personal. Yeah, like for me, for instance, we spoke about it earlier, Marvel Rivals. I was obsessed with that game. Clinically, I played like 300 hours in a month, month and a half. Got to top 1% of players in the world. Like, I was obsessed. And then as soon as they fired all of their American staff, I uninstalled that game and I have not touched it since, because I don't want my money going to that. Well, that's my principle. And it's not like, I have friends who still play it and still ask me to play it to this day, and I say no. But I don't begrudge them for still playing it. I just have my own personal stance of where I want my money to go. I don't want to support the $10 I would have spent on a skin in that game by playing it. I could spend on an indie game that will massively support the development and those indie developers' futures, rather than giving it to a company that lays off an entire workforce in a different country. So it's up to you to make that decision. You just need to think about where your stances lie.
I think, and the closing comment on this real quick, I think ideally everybody would care where their money goes and what's done with it. But there's a lot of questions about, like, how can you really fully know, and how big of the impact is. And that's probably the best answer to should they care. Ideally, we all
education,
would,
right?
And could.
Yeah. Sure. Mikhail Hudson, Zirith Faron. I'm going to move this over here so I don't need to crane my neck. Fucking ultra wides, man. There we go. Gives $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. Says, do you think this co-country buyout is any way to metaphorically handshake on Olympics level esports, given Saudi's strange esport addiction? Yeah, they do have a weird thing for esports.
That's interesting. I don't know too much about the background there, but just like as we were talking about before, I could easily see when new ownership comes in and they have all the power in the situation, and it's their responsibility, right? As like they're at the top, right? To do new initiatives, especially to make back money. I could see anything happening, right? All the things we just talked about, but that could include trying to get more involved with esports and trying to have some crazy reward pools, maybe, or trying to form some teams, form some leagues. I don't know. But I'm not too familiar, but I could see something like that happening. Yeah.
Yeah, that we don't know the motivations of the background of all of this. It is probably just make more money. So we'll see if that pays off. Cotton. We got AO with $20. Thank you so much. I see that orange and I just think of Tsunami Dusha. Like when the color of the donation is always based on the amount given, and Tsunami Dusha always gives $20 and says nothing on like most streams. So I just see the orange and I think of Tsunami Dusha. Big shout out to Tsunami Dusha. After hearing it last week, I love Tina's Valley Girl impression as a Helldivers voice pack. Dev question, are voice packs hard to do? I'd love to see more. Sorry for being off topic. I'm usually behind due to work. No, don't worry about being behind. It's all good. Thanks for listening. I'm sorry Tina can't be here to do her impression. I'm sure she would. If she comes back, I'll make sure she gives it a go. Yeah. Are voice packs hard to do? That's a good question.
Yeah, I feel like I could speak to that pretty closely.
Yeah, go for it.
You know, at least for my experience with it. I've written a lot of in-game voiceover. I've voice acted a lot of in-game voiceover. I've directed it myself. I've directed it with like low production or low budget agencies, high budget, high production agencies. I've been in sessions. I've directed with other directors. There's a lot that I've done there. The short answer is yes, it is difficult. It's it's possible you could do it in like a lower cost way where it's not as difficult. Like you could take a script that you already wrote for another character, and you could talk to an agency that isn't too expensive. An agency is basically like a company that has a bunch of, in this context, has a bunch of actors ready, right? They have a network, and you say to the agency, hey, here's 700 voiceover lines, and we need a character who is a female of any race and any age, as long as it's between 20 and 40, and they need to say these lines, and here's the direction for it, and here's X amount of dollars. And they'll just go, okay, and they'll go and they'll do it, and they'll do everything, and they'll hand it back to you. In that context, it's kind of easy. If you want to do a good job at it, you probably should write a unique script, which takes some time. It might be an enormous script. Like there's a lot of voiceover in Helldivers 2, for example, and there's a lot of voiceover in the games that I've worked on. So like to me, that's a daunting task. You write it uniquely. You write unique direction for it. You figure out what the character is supposed to be, all that kind of thing. And then you, Eric has pulled up, what is this? Is this the Underhell wiki? Shit.
Is that when you were in the Matrix, dude?
That is not when I was in the Matrix. I think that's a college photo shoot. Yeah. Yeah. So that's
Damn,
me
dude.
without facial hair. And I'm probably, how old would I have been? What year would that? I guess 22, 23, somewhere around there.
Damn,
that Eric
dude.
just
Looking
showed.
good.
And I think that was from the Underhell wiki. Underhell was a Half-Life 2 mod that I did a lot of writing and voiceover direction and voice acting for. It was a mod project. Bark says, wow, you look completely different. Tell me how. How different? I guess I look pretty different with the beard, and I've aged. So that makes sense. Where was I? So all those
Voice
elements. And then there's also the piece here of like, voiceover can be expensive if you're trying to pay for quality, I suppose, right? It's a thing where I would say it's easier because you can outsource it pretty comfortably, and you should, right? Like you shouldn't have somebody in the studio do the acting usually, right? Or even just find the actor on Fiverr usually. But there's a lot of like risk involved in that. I would say that as far as types of content, it's generally more difficult because this is all compared to the other options you could take, which would be like if you just want to put a new gun in and you have a pretty solid pipeline and you have a person internally on your art team or on your production team who like knows the pipeline and they develop a good relationship with an outsourcer, you could fucking pay pretty damn cheap to get somebody to do 3D art, right? And do some weapon animations and to do a weapon and just chuck that in the game. So the short answer is it's one of the more difficult ones, but it also depends on how you want to scale it and the quality level that you want.
Yeah, and like voice packs in the sense that you're referencing. One of the clearest examples I have is like Dota 2 has a lot of voice packs, and they're relatively they're simpler to do because the voice lines are written specifically for that character and like all that celebrity that's coming in to voice it. But the actual action is very static. It's always what do they say when there's a triple kill? What do they say when there's a penta? What do they say when a jungle camp is taken? So the list is very simple, and then the implementation and replacement of those files is very simple because they're all in the same place, always doing the same thing. So it's a little bit easier. Hence why that game has a wealth of them. Not to say that there isn't a lot of intricacies involved in making, producing, recording, and implementing them, but it's a little bit simpler.
Eric has just put shades on me. Thank you, Eric. I'll try to hold very still. I just sat down in my other chair. I think, I forget if you said it. I think you did, or at least implied. It's also just not a lot of lines, right? And if you just have to get somebody doing, as you said, like their own character, just themselves, because it's a cameo, and you don't care too much about quality because the person's spending the money because they like that creator or they like that character or whatever. And it's like 200 lines. Like that's, I don't know. 200 lines could be a lot, I suppose. It depends. But in this context, and compared to what it could be, that's pretty easy. So you're right. We should note also that it depends on the project and a bunch of other factors.
100%. All right, a couple more, then we can get into our dev quotes. We got Electric Prunes gives $5. Thank you so much. That name got me. It says, I need a full analysis on the downfall of the Need for Speed franchise. They had limitless potential and directions to take it, and now it's effectively fucking dead, mate. Good question. I think Need for Speed is a good study on what the industry is like for racing games in general right now, and how it's very difficult to innovate in that space. And kind of similar to shooters, we're seeing a shift.
Before you
and
continue,
that-
Jay, sorry.
Yeah,
Eric, just a heads up, the layout is broken. I don't know if you're aware, but I can only see half my face,
your mic and your face.
my mic and my face. So here we've got the mic, and this is my face. So just wanted to give a heads up. For those of you who are listening and not watching, you will unfortunately miss out on such a layout. Okay, there we go. It's fixed. Thank you. Please, Jay,
Amazing.
continue.
Like kind of similar to FPS, there's been a shift into either going hyper realistic with things like Assetto Corsa and like racing sims, and or the bombastic. Need for Speed was more geared towards the bombastic, but I also think that Need for Speed has done a thing that these games love to do, which is having their player base lose faith in them in general. Like Need for Speed Unbound, their recent one, didn't do very well, I believe, and I think it's because everyone's just been like, Need for Speed, like similar to Burnout. I absolutely love Burnout, but like, name the last good Burnout game that
Dude,
wasn't a remaster of Paradise.
This is a good
So-
question. By the way, KC is in here. Hey, KC, chiming in. I'm thinking about this. I guess I'm, of course, being reminded of the tactical shooter progression, or like just we could say military shooters, where they were all like pretty hardcore and simmy. Then they were like, eventually like a little more mixed. And then there's the glasses again. And then they split off. And where we're at now is like we've got like a lot of really hyper hardcore, hyper sim based designs, Arma, Squad, Escape from Tarkov. And then we've got like the really, really casualized military shooters, more arcadey, like Call of Duty, Battlefield to a large extent, but not completely. Siege even. Rainbow Six, actually, the progression of that series is part of what I'm describing. And I'm thinking about racing games in a context like that, where you can go those two routes, just like you're saying. I like how you say bombastic. There's the bombastic end of the spectrum, and then there's the sim end of the spectrum. And like it seems like everybody got into the sim versions, and Need for Speed was a little too much of a middle spectrum or bombastic end. Because Burnout was like, I played Burnout, I liked Burnout. But are there any bombastic racing games out now? Help me. Like maybe I'm not seeing.
Well, kart races are just the extreme of that.
Yeah,
I think
like tac shooters.
Yeah,
I guess the words bifurcate, or like it just really it became more binary, right? Where it's like you are either full on bombastic, silly, hoo hoo ha ha kart racer, or super sim. What? This smile.
No, it's correct. I just like the hoo hoo ha ha's. That got me. That tickled me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe it isn't doing enough to diversify itself apart from either of those extremes, so that the people who want the Sims don't want to play Need for Speed, and the people who want the bombastic or the kind of arcadey aspect, it's not far enough in that degree. I agree with KC. The recent Need for Speed was good. But then again, maybe it didn't make more money than God. So the devs are like, or the publishers and the owners are like, well, we're not making another one because it didn't make 80 jajillion
Hold on.
sandbucks.
But Hot Wheels Unleashed
I love Hot
came
Wheels
out
Unleashed.
a few
It's
years
great.
ago. Are you guys joking?
was it?
Are you fucking with me, or was Hot Wheels
No,
Unleashed like a pod?
Hot Wheels Unleashed is a good game, and there's two of them. There's a
I wasn't
one
sure
and
if
a
you were
two,
trolling me again.
and they're good.
That's interesting. Who worked on it? Milestone. I never heard of Milestone.
It's
before.
really, really, really good.
Cool. All right, good for
Yeah.
them. Yeah. No shade
Yeah, for sure.
thrown at the Hot Wheels franchise, by the way. It just sounds like a game that you'd hear and you'd go, "Oh yeah, that was just some brand."
It's
catchy
Hot Wheels
game."
Unleashed sounds like an early PS2 tie-in
Yes.
game, right? Like it
Yes.
sounds like a
I was just
cheap
gonna
bargain
say,
bin game.
It's if we go back to that PlayStation 2 era and we look at all of the fucking third-person action games based on movies and anime and fucking shows, or just like weird IPs, like 50 Cent Bulletproof, for example. Like just it's really interesting just how many of those existed with IPs or brands or identities or celebrities where you're like, what? But that was a real thing. So that's what I thought of when I heard Hot Wheels Unleashed.
Yeah, that's completely fair. We've also got Independent Courier in Tip Jar. Thank you so much. Welcome. Really appreciate you. And that is the super chats for now. Again, if you guys want to send in any more questions, you know how to do so. I'm going to move the chat back to the other side of the planet on the side of my screen.
While you do that, Jay, one quick shout out, because I found out about this recently. Tokyo Extreme Racer launched earlier this year. It was fairly popular, bit of a revival. I think that one is a little more bombastic, if I'm remembering right. So there's a point. Maybe that audience has been underserved. They're like, wait, we don't want to play fucking a hyper sim racing game, and maybe that's getting fulfilled. So anyway, please continue, because that was a good shout for a bombastic one.
I think what we'll do is we'll move into the dev quotes section, because we've got quite a few to get through. So I think we can get into it and have a bit of a conversation on each. These quotes are directly from developers. Some are named, some are anonymous. They would like to remain anonymous. So I'd appreciate it in chat if people don't try and figure out who said what. Respect their privacy. And also, I want to shout out Tina, who isn't here to say this, but this was an idea of hers to get dev perspectives from friends and also people who have previously maybe been on the show. So that's a really cool idea. And I think if we and you guys in the chat like this, we might want this to be a staple for some of our newsy episodes. So let us know in chat here and also in the DevHeads chat in Discord whether you like this, and we'll see if we can do it going forward. Right. Let's start us off. First one.
Pull that up. I'm seeing another couple of speculations. Yes, there were two 50-cent games, 50 Cent calling Bulletproof and 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. Bulletproof is like surprisingly good, which is something that I think is worth saying when you mention. I wouldn't say it was good in surprising ways. Like there was a good amount of heart put into it. Some of the cinematography that they did, some of the aesthetics, like they really did the best job they possibly could, taking a musician and making a video game out of them, and incorporating, I guess, his background and stuff. It's interesting. So I don't mean to knock that or all movie or tie-in branded games, including that ones from that era.
Oh, King Kong, the video game of the movie, the game, Peter Jackson's King Kong movie video game. Fantastic.
Chronicles of Riddick, also an excellent one. I feel like when people, I'm mentioning this, I guess, because I was actually pleasantly surprised by 50 Cent Bulletproof, and I feel like it deserves a little bit more credit than on its release. And there's a lot of, go ahead.
The thing is, if I was a Saudi prince that owned that game, I would have called the sequel $1.
$1. You might have the money to convince 50 to, I would say, dilute his brand, but isn't he doubling its value?
Done him. We got him, guys. We got him.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I couldn't help but chime in because those games are
no worries
cool to me at the same time.
All right, let's get into some of these quotes then, yeah? So the first one is from. So wait, just to we've gone through this. So the first one we've got, which is from Dave Oshry, the CEO of New Blood Interactive, Dusk, says, "My thoughts," and these are all in reference to the current news on the EA buyout, and their perspective. So Dave says, "My thoughts are that nothing good can possibly come from this. There will be layoffs. There will be AI bullshit. The enshittification will continue." Yeah,
Dave has such a fun, nice way of speaking.
Yeah.
I think I totally get this perspective. You could argue that's just being a nihilist, or that's just being pessimistic. But I think it's fair. Like I think that there's good reason for people to say like, oh, all these beloved IPs that aren't getting justice isn't being served. They're not getting a chance to flourish, right? I think it's fair, and I get people's negativity here, and we could easily have a situation where it remains the same or it gets worse, right?
Yeah, it's one of the things I said while we were discussing this topic in our meetings, which was it seems like these big investors went, oh, it looks like EA are bouncing back with all of their recent releases. Let's fuck that up. The enshittification is exactly what it is. Like, this is just going to give more reason to make things worse.
Let me ask this. to me, the bounce back is Battlefield 6 looks like it's going to be like a quality title.
Yeah,
Are there any other bounce backs that have come up recently? Because I'm trying to.
Their recent Star Wars Jedi games are extremely popular and relatively decent. I have a lot of criticisms as a designer, but that doesn't really speak to the general consumer. So the people who like those games really like those games, and they sell really well. So Respawn are absolutely smashing it. So good on them. EA and with Battlefield is coming back. People are fucking hoping BioWare will do something. And they are really holding on to that, but they might be past their prime. But yeah, like things are going well in the right now in the immediate, but that's gonna change. Give it a year and a half, and I reckon we'll start to see the fruit of the like when I say fruit, I mean like bum grapes. Like this is like bad fruit.
I think that another thing to point out here is this is what we were talking about before, right? I feel like while we keep saying in our speculation, oh, there's so many questions, like we're not sure like what's going to happen exactly. I think some two really certain ones we could be very certain of are they're going to try to utilize a lot of AI and they're going to lay off some people. It could happen later, right? As far as the layoffs go, but I'd be a little bit more surprised at that. And I think it's kind of inevitable because costs need to be cut, and that's already what the industry is doing. So why would it be different, right? Just because the owners are no.
100%. Right. So the next one is from Eric. Sorry.
So I was saying, thank you, Dave. All these people whose quotes you're seeing, we didn't pull these from social media, to be clear, right?
Yeah, we've asked them directly. And big shout out to specifically Mikey. Mikey did some amazing reaching out to get the majority of these. So big shout out to Mikey and to everyone that we're reading. Yeah.
You talk about Star Wars. I'm not a big Star Wars guy, but to quote a show I really liked, Andor, which is Star Wars IP, the show for people who don't like Star Wars, to quote it, I have friends everywhere.
This is true. He does. So yeah, I agree. Big shout out to everyone. We've got a bunch of anonymous ones, but even you know who you are. Thank you so much. Really nice to hear your perspective. So this one's from Eric Rajo, or Aries, who's been on the show before, CEO of the project Beautiful Light. And they say, video games need more creativity. I don't see how this deal is going in that direction, but that wasn't the case before, so I guess it won't really change anything for the better or worse. The only important point is how cultural restrictions in KSA will affect current and planned titles. So this is going back to the localization and,
to clarify for people,
the kind
KSA
of restrictions
is the
they have.
Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, just to
Saudi
clarify.
Arabia. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we also
so like it could have that effect for sure.
Yeah, I think that
I think I'm getting delays, so if you go for it.
Okay, I'm going for it.
No, you're good.
I think that this brings up a pretty good topic, or rather, this hits on something that I don't know if we've talked too much about yet in this episode. It's already like you could argue it's already pretty bad. The industry's pretty bad. A lot of EA's IPs are not getting utilized effectively or being utilized at all. You could look at this and say like, oh yeah, well this is probably not good. But also it was already really bad. Like the industry already is having the declines that it's having and the layoffs that it's having. And like, even if it gets, we obviously don't want it to get worse, but could it just be that we're not going to feel it very much as consumers and as gamers, as fans of EA IP? Developers could feel this, of course, and easily. Consumers could also too. But also, to me, EA hasn't been doing much with a lot of its IP, and what it has done has just been kind of okay for the most part. It depends on the project. The exception, for me at least, in my taste, my interpretations, being Battlefield 6. So I don't know if I think Eric brings up a good point here. Will it get any better or worse, or will it just feel like it's the same thing and we won't be that affected?
Yeah, 100%. My thoughts are the same. So I'm going to move on to this next fatty one because it's a little bit for me to read. Get on this fat ting
coming up. Thank you, Eric, again for your contribution.
For this one, anonymous former Apex designer, so someone who's working or has worked under EA, says, I think there are some pros and cons to taking EA private, regardless of who the owners are. If the new owners have deep pockets, them Saudis got them deep pockets, thanks oil, they can fund more risky or capitally large R&D projects more easily than a standard public board would, in my experience. Also, generally, a PE fund will demand less payout than public shareholders. The earnings goals set by the shareholders were often pretty tone deaf to the actual market. Public shareholders may demand that a share of EA pays a dividend, requiring games to make a 50% profit margin. That's high. So I don't know why I read it like that. Where a
You wanted to
PE
honor
firm
this person's
may be,
exclamation point. This anonymous former
Yeah,
Apex
yeah.
designer's exclamation.
yeah,
Continue.
yeah, where a PE firm may be on with 20 to 30%. Too soon to say though. With these owners, it's something the teams will need to feel out. The buyouts could make quarterly and yearly earnings goal more reachable. We'll get into that. And more bonuses, more likely to pay out. That'd be nice. However, in my experience, PE is more likely to take big changes faster, like shuttering studios, etc., to focus. Yeah.
So what we're hearing here is, I guess, some, you could call it potential optimism, potential good things here, where maybe they can fund more risky things, like do more R&D and get new IPs or go to old IPs because of this person's experience that they're sharing. It's a possibility, right? The other thing here, though, is like it could just easily be negative in the ways that we're saying, but this person's also saying that in their experience, it's more likely to take big changes faster, like shuttering studios to focus, quote unquote.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
that look, all for risks, right? All for taking risks in these contexts. So that would be great, and I guess that's a fair point about going private. But who knows? I don't know. It's a shakeup that could go in some positive directions, I guess, is the nice takeaway from this, but it's all, just potential anyway.
Yeah, it's a coin flip. I just think one side of that coin is weirdly twice as heavy as the other for some reason.
Maybe even more than twice as heavy.
I don't know why. Yeah, the other side is a neutron star. it's very heavy. So the next one is an anonymous AAA game director says new acquisitions often comes with layoffs or in development project cancellations, which could be the most noticeable, immediate, and painful effect. Aside from that, there's so many layers of bureaucracy at large corps like EA that it likely won't have much direct effect on any of the game teams.
Yeah, this is one.
So
that I kinda,
yeah.
Go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
Carry on.
There's a delay.
No, you're good.
This is one that I kind of get, and I guess I was sort of mentioning earlier, where when I said, they just might not care, right? Like the new owners might be like, well, just do whatever you're doing and do this, but do this now. And that initiative ends up like not fully going through, or it gets canceled after a year of being over-meetinged, right, and PowerPointed within those people that are so high up, and the people at the low level never even see it, or if it does even go into effect, it doesn't affect their day to day, So it's possible because it's so huge, right, that something like that could happen, just as much as it is these other more negative felt effects. It could be that it's just so fucking big that you and we don't really see the effects there. This is another opportunity where I would say, like, potentially we could point to what's happened so far, where the Saudi fund in particular, which is the one, it's multiple funds, right? But the Saudi one is one of the ones that they're talking more about, is like they only own a piece of it, and they've already owned a piece of these other companies anyway, the ones I mentioned earlier, and we can link that article here. I'll give it to you, Eric, if you want to link it in the chat. So, if those weren't that affected, maybe this is going to be the same.
Yeah, we'll see. As I was saying before, I always think like the most troubling thing about all of this is not the buyout itself and the privatization, it's the debt and the mentions of AI. That is the direct thing that I think will eventually affect consumers. Because yeah, if they're trying to cut teams and replace with AI, nothing good's happening. So we'll see, and it will take some while for that those terrible trees to bear fruit, bum grapes. But we will see it, and that's not going to be a good thing. If that happens, which I think it will, I'm not going to be sat here smug going, I told you so. I'm going to be going, oh no, The Sims is shit now. That sucks. It sucks for the devs. It sucks for us. It sucks for like the IP. It just like these things suck. They like that shouldn't be happening. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope all of these private companies that have bought EA go, hey, Cook, go for it. If you think you can make money, shoot, go for it. What do you need? But historically, that's not what these things do. So we will see. Moving on to the next one, we've got an anonymous game director at a AA studio, and it says, the game industry was already rife with old men out of touch and focused on the wrong things. Most are too obsessed with increasing shareholder value to understand what makes games good and successful. Electronic Arts lost credibility and tarnished their reputation a long time ago, and then surprised us by making it worse again and again. I like this person. It's not surprising to see this move, and there's little reason to believe that oil tycoons or politicians with ties to controversial figureheads will make EA any better. In regards to industry-wide upheavals over AI and the impact on tech and media, I won't beat the dead horse any further. Its name is hubris, and there's almost nothing left now. I really like this person.
And I think, but tell us how you really feel.
Yeah.
You're right. This is obviously like this is a pointed one, I guess you could say. And yeah, I mean, this mentality is very reminiscent of the way I think people were talking about EA some years ago when they were doing Battlefront loot box stuff that people were upset about, when they were making certain IPs more casualized, maybe, right? Instead of staying true to their vision. EA has invoked a lot of ire over the years, and I think that's kind of what we're hearing from this perspective. And you could easily make an argument that it's pretty deserved, right? To say like, well, they just don't have credibility, and like how much of things really changed. Like, why are we even surprised? Is a fair take on this.
Yeah, I agree with everything in this statement. If I wasn't indie, I'd be like, did I write this? But alas, it is not me. I feel like I know this person. I feel like I'm looking into a mirror, and I like them. I don't even know if I know them. I might know them. I don't know. These are anonymous to me as well, because I didn't get this one. So, yeah, I agree. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, that horse is called hubris. Next one. Anonymous high-level executive at a well-known game publisher. Ooh, spice. And they say, short answer is, with how EA has treated much of its IPs, I feel like a lot of players aren't going to feel there's much left to lose at this point. Like, Battlefield is obviously an eternal concern for the new game, but I feel like they've already burnt up a lot of their IPs, especially original ones, between Mass Effect, Anthem, Dragon Age, multiple Star Wars projects, Dead Space, Apex, Titanfall, etc. I think EA has just behaved so terribly for so long that a change of scenery might be seen as being a good thing for its games, because how could they get worse, even if it won't reflect the reality? Yeah, I think that goes to just general consumer. Like, we as game devs and people who are watching this show who are very either one already educated on how game dev works or are here to expand their knowledge on how game dev works see this as, oh, this is bad. But someone who just like loves Mass Effect and just repeatedly plays Mass Effect for their entire life, some of them might be going, yay, more funds. They're going to fund the next thing. That's going to be great. Whereas some people in that fandom might be like, oh no, we're never going to see a Mass Effect again. And if we do, it's going to be wank. You know? So the perspective change of like, how do you view it is very interesting.
Yeah, this quote, I think I referenced it earlier when I was talking about like, it's very possible, and I think it's worth talking about because I think most people are talking about the negatives. Like, it's possible it will just be equally negative. It'll be the same of negative, and things won't even really feel like they changed at all. And that's like mundane and kind of boring. But I think it could just be that. Players are used to not getting, as we just said in the quote, not getting Mass Effect, not getting more Dragon Age, Anthem, Star Wars stuff. So that could just easily continue. There could be a bit of hope, right? That like, oh, well, maybe they'll sell those off and then a studio will take them and they'll make something good out of it. And that would be a positive, I think. I think that's fair to come of this. But it could also go out to another studio and nothing comes of it, or it's a studio that doesn't understand the vision or doesn't have the resources they need, or it goes to a studio that then gets laid off or that gets closed. Like there's a lot of it's a reality here could just be, well, it's gonna all be the same. Like nothing's gonna change really.
Yeah. We'll see. If they go hard on this AI stuff, I think even the most casual of players might start seeing some of the ramifications of that. They might not fully understand why, but then they can just come here and we'll talk shit about it, and then they'll know. So it all works out in the end for the old dev heads. Next one is an anonymous technical director at a AA studio. Says, I think most are aware that the publicly traded EA of today and yesterday was responsible for many studio closures. Tina's back.
Do we have a Tina? Did Tina just join?
It's the ghost of Tina.
It's a ghost of Tina. Let's continue because Tina's having issues today.
Tina's sorting stuff out. Tina, we're reading out your quotes. I shouted out your idea.
Oh
my God.
There's Tina. We got you live. We got you on video.
Guys, I'm so sorry. The reverberation in this room does suck.
It's not your fault.
Fine. Okay. We're just happy to
We're
see
happy
you,
to have
Tina.
you
How
back.
are you?
You had to say the nation of Saudi Arabia, and then my power went out in my house.
Yeah.
When you said that sentence, you just glitched for a second. It was you just stopped talking.
Are you serious?
Yeah, stop talking
about the kingdom.
All right, I'm sorry. I don't want to. I don't
just
want
say
to
Kingdom Hearts. Just say Kingdom
Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts. You know how people say corn instead of porn now because they want to get around any filters. So now, anytime somebody wants to talk about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they just say Kingdom Hearts. It's the
Kingdom Hearts
workaround.
Kingdom Hearts free. Show me those Sora feet. We shouted out your idea, Tina, for the quotes. We're going through some of them now. But
okay, awesome. Yeah, I don't want to stop you guys.
All about your we'll tell them about your cool idea. And yeah, I'm gonna continue with them. So this one's from anonymous technical director at AA Studio. I'm just gonna go through this one again from the top. I think most are aware that the publicly traded EA of today and yesterday was responsible for many studio closures and baffling decisions. I want to be optimistic and say that this buyout might result in a change of approach that leads to more creative liberties. An investment into new and or discarded IPs being developed black and white. The king of Kingdom Hearts loves black and white. Realistically, and knowing reports about their intentions around the use of AI and a passing knowledge of the history of these sorts of buyouts, I am less so. I'm concerned there is a potential that this becomes the biggest / most significant test case for mass developer replacement with AI, assuming their claims are accurate. Yeah, it's scary. What are your thoughts, Tina?
About the comment?
Yeah. No, just in general. What are you thinking about? Like, what's on your mind?
What are you thinking about?
You thinking about Mochi?
No, so about this particular buyout, I think it's insane how much money is involved with video game companies like this. And I think that in one way, sets a pace for the rest of the world to appreciate and maybe even respect the video game industry a bit more, right? Just by the sheer nature of how large this purchase is.
Yeah.
I do wonder if, like on paper, you never want to believe someone's going to spend this much money and be like, okay, now I'm going to mess things up,
Yeah, but
I-
all I can say to that is Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not even called that anymore. Um, yeah, I just, I'm going to be watching curiously from the sidelines. It is crazy that this company has been in the news many times before for many different reasons. Shout out to the EA spousal folks. But yeah, I really, it's really hard to imagine that, like, with any change, that things are going to stay the status quo, and not knowing what those changes are going to be is very scary. So my heart goes out to all the developers of
Yeah.
that will be involved in this, because at the end of the day, it's not, it's harder not to know what your future may be in a year or two or even 5 years. It's
Terrifying.
whatever plans you had, they may change, and that really sucks.
Yeah.
But likewise, you just never know if things will go really well too. So I want to try to stay optimistic, just for the sheer fact that this is a huge, huge acquisition. Did you guys mention that the purchasers of this deal, the Silver Lake and the others,
Yeah. That it's three different firms, yeah.
and that Silver Lake is also tied to the purchase of TikTok?
Yeah. Well, we didn't mention that, but you've just told everyone. Yeah. There's lots of, I recommend everyone in the chat, if you're curious, doing individual research into each one of these companies that have bought, because there are lots of threads to follow, and they lead to very interesting.
Yeah, and as a reminder
conclusions.
for your new Google tabs, it's Silver Lake, Affinity Partners, and Savvy Games Group.
Yes.
And the Savvy Games Group is a part of the PI. What was it?
Of the Kingdom Hearts.
Of the Kingdom Hearts. They are Savvy Games Group is of the Kingdom Hearts' PIF, or Public Investment Fund.
Yes. So yeah, there's lots of things to figure out, maybe the intentions and or quality of the companies buying these things. So that could also lend credibility to our speculations on what may or may not happen within these, for sure.
Speaking to the quote here from anonymous technical director at AA Studio, this is actually an interesting point. What if this is the biggest attempt to try to use AI at the most to do? Oh, Tina's child. Hello.
Yes. Yes. She's here. She'll hang out with us for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Sounds good. That sounds nice. Where was I? I was distracted by cuteness. I should be ready for this because Ludo comes on screen all the time. But that's okay.
I'll get a double distraction for Mikey.
No, that's too cute. We can't have an adorable child and an adorable doggy on screen.
I'm going to shut down the stream with double cute.
You're going to shut down the stream again. Kingdom Hearts.
Does your daughter want to see a dog?
Where was I? So yeah, with the quote, I mean, they're in a position where they could have an initiative where they could cause the entire company to say, I don't know, hey, every team needs to reduce itself by 30% and present to us an AI integration plan, which they need to start by the end of the year or something like that. I mean, it's not into effect right now. I think it's in 2027 it's going to be finalized, but they're in a position to cute. They're in a position to do something like that, right? So I think that's an interesting perspective that's shared here.
Yeah, 100%.
Jay and I are the same.
I don't have anything cute in my life to hold, so I'm going to think about that.
Hold
later.
yourself. You're cute.
And let's just move on to the next quote.
All right. So next quote, I'm going to try and continue to hold Ludo while we go through this. Anonymous developer says the gaming industry is shifting, and we're seeing company layoffs left and right over the past few years. It doesn't surprise me that this deal occurred when AAA companies are starting to struggle, like we've seen with Ubisoft, EA, and even Activision to some extent, it's hard to survive in this industry. And I can see myself taking whatever offers is on the table in order to continue doing what I love. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, it is. I think there's a lot of people here that are like, well, this doesn't surprise me. I mean, this was inevitable. The struggling's happening. We've read about this with Ubisoft pretty recently, and this is the effect. Like, this is what happens when these things happen. And as this person says in their final sentence, like, here's the human element again, which I know Tina brought up too, and which we can't discount. A lot of people suffer from just trying to survive and how tumultuous all this shit is, right?
Yeah, it's intense. Like, but my stance would be, I completely agree from like that, from a developer standpoint, and like wanting to just take whatever, but to make sure they can keep making the game they're super passionate about. Because people who say that developers don't care about the game they're making are just full of shit, because it takes so much effort and passion and time and dedication to make a game that like these developers care, and they want to make this thing. But the devs aren't the people making this big, like, do we sell ourselves out to this big company? It's not them, it's the executives. And executives have proven time and time again that they do not care about the product that they're making. They care about how much money it makes. And they're hoping the developers under them can make that money. So I get it from one side, I don't from another. But maybe that's just me being cynical.
I think there's a lot of truth to what you said. I think another, not cynical truth, but pessimistic truth is there are developers who work on projects and they don't care, right? I don't think every developer on every project cares about the project that they're on. That happens. And I think part of why that happens is because you don't always get onto a team or a project that excites you, and you're just going to kind of go, all right, well, like, I'm going to do the best job I can, but like, I don't really care. I'm doing this as a job. I want to get paid. Or the passion kind of goes out after years of doing it as a job and also as a hobby. It reduces itself as a hobby. Like, you do get into these situations where developers work on games they don't care. Here's the shitty thing. I think that's going to happen more and more now, because if there's less options and there's less money going around, you're going to get developers who are working on more projects that they care even less and less about, because they're just taking whatever the hell job they can, right? So that reality is going to increase.
Yeah, it's tough, man. This entire deal just like kind of makes me sad in a way. But hey,
the silver lining is potentially maybe they will sell off a bunch of IPs to some studios that are like, oh my God, I loved Black and White. Let's do it justice. And maybe it's just a remaster, which I don't mean to downplay it, but like, maybe it doesn't have to be something as ambitious and risky as a sequel, which would be less likely to happen, I think, because of the risk. And it's great. So like that, if we are to look for silver linings, that might be one of them, is something like that happening.
Silver Laking, yeah.
Silver Laking.
Yeah. Kingdom Hearts, Silver Laking, and whatever the other twats are called. So Tina, do you have anything to add to that one?
Yes, but I don't know if I apologize again for missing most of this podcast. But the thing about AI that is fascinating to me is that a lot of people don't think of it as a tool that can help leverage current efforts by developers, right? I think like VCs and a lot of people that are higher up like to think that it's a complete replacement for developers. Yeah. And I don't think that's going to work out the way they expect. And I'm hoping that that lesson is learned fast and hard by large companies, so they realize, oh, we got to abandon this altogether. Let's add it as like a tool to help facilitate easier development rather than like, 50% of your team is going to be robots making stuff. So,
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
That's one thought I had.
Next one, because we got a couple more to go through, and then we got a couple donations. Anonymous Developer. We've had a lot of comments from Anonymous Developer. whoever they are, that one person.
I promise
Um,
you that all of these are different people, by the way.
Yeah, they just want to stay anonymous for whatever personal reason they have, which is fair. They say, though I'm not super knowledgeable about AAA, I guess from my perspective, the timing of everything seems to make sense, I guess. They really put in a lot of work into BF6, so that helped bring the share price up. I don't understand why they're overpaying so much, unless they really think it's worth that much, or maybe it's like a Toys R Us situation where the board and CEO get a golden parachute and bail, and the new owners just sell off all of its IPs for profit and then close it down.
We haven't talked
It's an
about that.
interesting
Like
theory.
the ultimate cynical interpretation of this, right? Is they saw an
Hmm.
opportunity and said, like, all right, well, we'll be fine. The company might be screwed, but whatever, it won't be ours anymore. And we get to have a clean, nice exit. Could
Yeah.
easily be at play here, right?
Yeah, it definitely could. We've seen those things happen before, and it just goes back to the idea of like, is it from the developer and the game aspect, like let's make the games better, let's make the quality of life better, or is it let's make as much money as we can from the executive standpoint, and then have that? I love that term, golden parachute. Use like pull the cord on that bitch, and descend and leave the plane to burn. And that could be something that might be on the table, but we will see. It's gonna take some time to see the fruit from this tree. Next one, anonymous developer again, and says, with usual acquisitions, it's a merger between two companies. It's then expected that there's layoffs because of redundant positions between the two companies. This acquisition isn't that. So there's a chance there won't be layoffs, at least right away. Yeah. So that's a completely fair point. It is a different situation, but yeah, all of the news coming out about like reducing costs and AI and stuff is where the real trouble is. That's where we might start seeing layoffs. I agree with Tina saying I hope they learn that lesson hard and fast. That's not going to work for AAA,
Yeah.
and they fix things before some really shitty games come out. So, but we will see.
Yeah, and just for listeners' curiosity, if they do want to go down the AI rabbit hole and understanding what's going on in entertainment, you could look to Hollywood, for instance, and how their unions are really pushing to try to keep that stuff out of the TV and film industry. But with that said, there is a company that made an AI actress. I think her name is Tilly, and it's an
Reading about
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
an
Let me look it
AI
up real quick.
personality, and
Isn't it?
she can
Tilly
do
Norwood.
yeah. And actors and actresses are pissed. I think that industry in particular is probably dealing with a lot of the things that the game industry may deal with later on, but they're dealing with it right now. They're like the front line for all of this, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be watching how Hollywood in general deals with Tilly, because that's an absolutely insane thing. Like, oh, let's just put her in a film, and I don't know. It's just it's getting weird out here, you guys. It's
It's
getting weird.
disgusting. Yeah, but it's just thinking about AI and how the general consumer, do they care if some of the things in their games are made by AI, or like their videos are made by AI? Because a lot of artists and people who are in the know really care, but do the general consumer? Do they even know? Like, how many AI videos have you seen? Like your parents see and just go, "Oh, look what." I mean, the president of the United States is posting dumb shit AI videos he's made on his public account, and people are just taking it seriously. It's like, does the general consumer care? So, and I think that's what a lot of these big execs are thinking is like,
Yeah.
well, is the backlash going to be that big if we have all of our cutscenes made via AI? You know?
So I think the general consumer should care at this point, because I don't know if there's a lot of traction with
I think they
what's
should.
going on
It's
now.
whether they do. You know?
Yeah, I think the scariest part is funding the data centers for these AI tools and things is being forced on the average American. I don't know if you know if there's data centers in your city, you're paying part of the electrical bill for those data centers. That's a thing you guys, anyone listening can look up. It's happening right now, like on the East Coast. And I don't know how or why that is. I'm just little Tina, but like I'm paying attention to all these things. Like the more data centers that pop up, you know, are the people living in those cities going to have to continue paying for the electricity bill? And not only that, but those data centers consume a ton of frigging water.
Yeah, it's bad for
Um,
the environment.
yeah, so I just like these are all things that make AI in general just seem so. It's not a nail in the head like amazing new feature that we can exploit and have fun with or whatever. There's a lot of real chaotic things that still haven't been sorted out with this yet.
Yeah, 100%. Right, well, we've got our last developer quote, which is once again from anonymous developer. The final thing they have to say, which is, Eric highlighted it and it distracted me. It flashbanged me. Says this seems like a bad deal, but if the effect is more nuanced than that. The deal is bad for the industry in the short term because the leveraged buyout structure, 20 billion in extra debt, will most likely cause mass layoffs across EA, adding to the pile of layoffs across the industry as a whole. However, the private equity firms typically sell off a whole bunch of assets to start paying down the debt. That means dormant and underserved franchises, Command & Conquer, Medal of Honor, Mirror's Edge, etc., will be sold off, giving them another chance to live, while service-based games will stay put. Putting aside the almost guaranteed layoffs and only looking at the company's assets, EA is like an old tree in a forest. It's not dead, but it's full of dead branches. The buyout is like a very strong wind that caused the dead branches to fall off. The tree is now lighter, though damaged, and the branches that fell off to the ground will provide nutrients to new life to begin. What a poetic motherfucker.
Yeah.
What?
Yes. Did you
Who
guys
sent
like
this in? Shakespeare?
this is Will Shakespeare, avid game developer.
It's old Willie Shakes?
Oh my goodness. That's
It is-
probably like
it
the
is-
best put like response to all of
Yeah.
this. Oh my
That was a
god.
great
also
one
like a
to
bit-
book it out. Yeah.
It's a bit.
What am
odd.
I doing here? Like you guys this anonymous person got it. They got it.
This it's also like we were just being very negative, and we have every reason to be negative. But again, like if there is a silver lining here, I think this is the one worth pointing out. And I agree with this person. Like the strong wind came through quite beautifully, apparently, and
Yeah.
it's there is a chance that people who liked certain works of art will get a chance to flourish again as a result of this, because
Yeah.
it is very likely and very possible that this person says very likely, and it's possible that there is going to be a reason, like or there is a reason now, excuse me, that we need to get rid of all of these IPs because we need to make back that $20 billion. And that means other people get a chance to make those games. So that is a good thing that could come of this. It's possible.
Yeah, that is definitely. And I hope it does. I hope a lot of those IPs do get a chance to live. That would be really good for gamers, especially if it's put in the hands of some really passionate AA devs. Because indie devs aren't going to be able to afford to buy any major IPs. So or like other big publishers that are willing to then put smaller teams onto these projects and passionate devs. That's a big positive that can come. I just really hope that does happen.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's well within the realm of possibility.
Definitely.
Of that happening, and that's like
Definitely.
because a big interpretation of this thing happening is, well, this has happened, and all they're going to do is they're going to try to make money off of it, which we believe pretty rightfully that's bad for consumers, that's bad for gamers, et cetera, because it could mean gross monetization practices or laying people off and then using AI to game at worse quality, whatever. But one of those things that is cynical is oh, well, we just have to make a quick buck to make those 20 billion back. So we're just going to sell off these IPs. We don't care. Get rid of them. And that could lead to something good. So again, the possible silver lining here isn't even that unlikely. It's possible.
Yeah.
And
the branches.
I got to say, like hearing this, and I'm thinking about each of the IPs that we've talked about, and I'm thinking about the ones here. If Dawn of War 4 does super well, and Dawn of War 4 is very much inspired by an old school design of RTS, maybe they'll go, you know what? Maybe Command and Conquer is ready to come back and be a PC heavily marketed, well done RTS that like goes back to old school roots but innovates in interesting ways. Who knows? Medal of Honor,
Yeah.
I don't know what you could do with Medal of Honor. I think shit's too crowded now as far as the mill FPS is. But go ahead. Yeah, what do you think, Jay?
Think of it this way, we could have Sony sweep in and buy the rights to James Pond, and we could get Naughty Dog making a Last of Us quality James Pond sequel. I mean,
Oh my god. I'm picturing like a game like James Pond, but it has like the narrative seriousness of like, I don't know, a combination of The Last of Us and The Deer Hunter, right?
Oh God.
just like a heavy ass movie. But they take inspiration from that and they make it about James Pond. And they call they call it James Pond, Fish Out of Water. It's about his struggles with addiction and coming back from a lifetime of service in Her Majesty's. What do you call MI6? Do you have a colorful name for that, Jay? I don't know.
Are we doing a game dev pitch right now?
Now we are. Yeah, James Pond comes back to the pond after a lifetime of service in intelligence work, and I don't know if you guys know, but that shit is draining. That shit will pull your soul and your brain down through your asshole. It is rough work. It is. It seriously is. And it's devastating to a lot of people. Other people don't give a shit and they're fine with it. But there's other people and it's terrible. And it's like obviously a lot of service involved with like war to begin with can be really difficult for a person, obviously. But the intelligence work is difficult in a different way, and it's shrouded in a lot of mystery, and we don't really know a lot about it. And I think that that's an interesting story for James Pond.
Yeah, I agree.
How does the spy come home
for
into a
interrupting
normal
you
life?
guys, but EA Games only polished the Genesis version of the game. EA does not own the character or the franchise.
What?
Who
Eric,
owns
why'd
it?
you only come in to give us bad news?
So we're not going to see EA revive James Pond. Does the Saudi prince know? Wait, does Kingdom Hearts know this, or did they buy?
He's like, no, they don't have James Pond, and he's like, I want to refund it, take it back. Take it back. I didn't do my research.
I'm so sad right now.
Hold on. There's people watching now. Why didn't any of you correct us? Oh my gosh.
You fuckers.
We have all failed together. This is not one person's fault.
Well, okay. Well, to bounce us out of the pond and into reality, we have a few more donations to go for before we wrap up. We've got Murasaki with $10 that says, "Who was the first infamous dev? One who was controversial or extremely combative. My memory only goes back as Derek Smart of Battle Cruiser 3K.
Yeah, Derek Smart was a good example.
Was he combative?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, can you tell the rest of us that are shameful and don't know who that is? Like what?
No, A, no, don't be ashamed because this is an older one. And B, I can't tell you because it's so old I forget. I just remember that Derek Smart had a reputation.
He was apparently a dickhead.
I think the thing that did him in, and please chat correct me wrong, we could do some Googling, was he was very antagonistic with people on like forums and stuff. And he was very snarky in the way people criticize the game. I guess this is how it happens to a lot of developers, but he did that at a time where you didn't really have a lot of ways to like be expressive in like real time in your defense because there was no social media. I think he did it through like message boards and stuff. So the story of it, I remember being interesting because of how it got expressed. It wasn't through, videos on YouTube that he did or whatever. But yeah, he made a lot of games that I think at the time he probably would have called vaporware, or they came out and they were just low quality, and he did take the criticism well. Someone here says Carmack, but isn't the question? Well, hold on. Is
Yeah,
it the
like
question
Infamous
because it
devs,
didn't take
like
criticism well? Because I think Carmack.
yeah, they didn't take criticism. They're combative or they're controversial. Like from an indie perspective, one of them is Phil Fish is a great example from the indie movie. Who the creator of Fez, who was very combative with other devs and very shitty to a lot of people, and has kind of disappeared
Right, but
from
hold
the
on.
public
Was
eye.
Carmack combative? I don't remember John Carmack being combative. I assume you
Me
mean John
neither, but
Carmack and
maybe
not
they
Adrian
were.
Carmack, but
This can
I
also
remember him.
help, Lo. Like Hideki Kamiya is extremely combative on Twitter, but in a funny way. Like anyone who tweets at him, he just like sends out like a meme get fucked response and then blocks you. And it's become like a mark of honor to be blocked
Well,
by Hideki Kamiya.
I don't know who this
I'm
is.
still
but
waiting
look
to be
at this
blocked by
picture.
Hideki Kamiya.
That looks like a edgy motherfucker, dude.
He is one of my favorite developers of all time. I absolutely love this dude. He's so great. He's so great. Like I've told this story many times, and I still need to find the direct source for it. But he made Bayonetta, right? And he made the main character in Bayonetta have glasses because she's a librarian. And an executive came to him and said, "Glasses are unsexy. Remove the glasses." So in response, he went through and gave every main character in the game glasses.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Like he's such a like a fuck you kind of dude. Like he's so sick. Yeah, and
I like- Look, I like that stuff too, but I feel like in the same breath you got to say like, yeah, it's real fun to be like, fuck you, I did you up, I showed you that you were being petty, but that's like pretty consequential. I don't like the idea that video games can change on a whim because of one person's personality and a tweet. I don't know. I find it funny. But
Yeah, I
find it
don't think
good.
it's because of a tweet. It's that the tweets is a different story to like him actually developing the games and wanting to make them how he does. His Twitter stuff, he's just famous for saying really like crude things to fans. They'll be like, "Hey, I don't like the way you did this thing in Devil May Cry," and he was like, "Your mum liked it," and then he'll block you. You know, he's very
I
combative,
don't
but
know.
it's
I'm
become
not
part of his, you know.
And that's fine. And that's like, look, I also feel satisfaction when I see, again, petty people getting owned online. But at the same time, I feel like there's, it's sad to me that can lead to certain things happening, like, again, a big change to a game, or just the fact that, like, I wish people could be a little more genuine online sometimes and not snarky and shitty, even if they're being shitty to another shitty person.
What year was
That's-
that?
That's
That
a side
post?
opinion.
15, 13?
2013. Says there.
2013,
17,
yeah.
2013.
It was a different time.
He does it to this day. He cannot be stopped.
I try to
he's
help.
been building that brand for over a decade. So
Oh, yeah.
that's pretty cynical of me to say. Maybe it's just who he is. I don't know the guy. I don't know. But that's just who he is. I saw a comment here I want to just speak to because it's a bit of a, I guess you could say like a knowledge-based thing. And I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm correcting you, but some of the chat saying Carmack wasn't very nice to some other devs. He was a party animal, and somebody brought up that he might have been combative. I read Masters of Doom by David Kushner, and I read the autobiography Life in First Person by John Romero, who worked extensively with John Carmack, of course. I didn't get the impression in any of those things. Carmack could be like really opinionated, and at least in what's written about him, he was very straightforward, like a classic engineer personality, and some perceive that as rude. But that's just speculation and what people have written about him. In the stories, there's nothing about him being a party animal. It's very much the opposite. He was the one who didn't really want to party, and he's a fucking auteur engineer, dude. It's kind of crazy the things that he's done. But no, I think wherever you're getting that info, you might have it confused with something else. So I just wanted to call that out. And check out both those books, Masters of Doom and Life in First Person. It's very
suggestions.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna rapidly go through the final donations because we've got a few. Thank you so much, everyone who's donated. Massively appreciate it. So Alex Armstrong, $5 says, "As someone who's enjoying playing The Sims as this cozy game, should I be worried that the series might get cancelled or even delisted from this buyout?" Yeah, I don't think it's going to get closed. It makes a lot of money, but I think it might be impacted by if they go this whole AI route. I could see Sims being a game affected by that. So there might be a dramatic quality dip in the content you see over the next few years. I hope not. I hope none of these games suffer. I hope none of the devs suffer. But we shall see.
I wouldn't be too worried. I think there's other things you could worry about. The Sims has a lot of casual appeal. I don't know. I'm not the most familiar with the series, so maybe I can't say any more than that. But I wouldn't be worried just because it's a big IP. I guess you could be worried, though, that they'll take it and they'll turn it into something worse. But I don't think it would go away completely.
Yeah. All right. Independent Courier, $5, and says, guys, capitalism. The IPs are getting dusted off. Some studios will bid, low even, just to resurrect them. It's a restart button on EA's catalog. Yeah, hopefully. I hope it's a restart for these IPs. I just want more quality games for all of us to play. That's the end goal for any of us, right? And I hope that's true. But the reality is the ones they keep a hold of might turn to shit in their hands. I mean, they have been turning to shit in their hands. Look at BioWare for the last decade, right? It's just what it is.
Yeah, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, that's probably the best thing that could come of this. They sell them off, a studio takes it and makes a great remaster, makes a great sequel, and they see life again, and we just see what that looks like. We see what happens from that.
Yeah. Independent Courier comes back again with another $5 and says, hey, History 101. Interplay fumbled Fallout, Bethesda saved it. BioWare faced bankruptcy, EA gave us Mass Effect. Today is no different, the cycle continues.
Yeah, again, fair. The IPs go other places. Sounds like we're talking about the same thing we just talked about.
Yeah, I think
IPs
so, yeah.
going different places or buyout happening. I don't know about the strategy, right, of these three companies together because it doesn't, what's their gaming background, right? How much they care about the art, of course, yada, yada. Also, I wanted to ask this. Did Interplay fumble Fallout? I feel like Interplay made a couple good Fallout games, right? 1 and 2?
Yeah,
they made a bunch of great games. So I'm curious to hear more about how they might have fumbled it. But I would say that, yeah, Bethesda... my favorite Fallout was Fallout New Vegas. I think that Bethesda allowed that to happen, right, with what they did with 3, etc. But I wouldn't characterize Interplay as fumbling it.
Yeah, 100%. Next few, we got Milif with $2. Thank you. Says EA the largest software-only games company. That's a good question.
Wait,
I can't
Eric
speak
just
to
put
too
something
much of
on
that.
chat. And it's a picture of Tencent, and he says, "No, it is this company."
It's
Hyphen
Tencent.
Eric.
Okay, well there we go.
Thank you, Eric. And that makes perfect
Easy.
sense, right? Because
Yeah,
of how large Tencent.
they own a lot. Independent Courier, again, thank you so much. Massively appreciate your donos and getting your questions in. Says golden parachute or laundering money, is that debt? Yeah, I don't want to speculate too much about where the money is and where it's going and stuff like that. That's all them. All we can hope for is better games. But is that gonna happen? We'll see.
I guess the hopes are, better games and not too many layoffs.
Fingers crossed.
Right.
Oh, okay. Spicy one to round it out. Alex Armstrong, $2. If Sega got bought out and Sonic shut down, how do you feel? Happy?
Oh, because you don't like Sonic?
I don't like Sonic.
Yeah.
All of the best Sonic games
yeah.
could have the Sonic IP removed from them because the only good ones are the racing games, and they could be any character, right? And they have IPs from a bunch of different things. So yeah, I'd just be like, oh, cool. I'd be sad for all the devs that lost their jobs, but I'd be like, yay, no Sonic.
Could you maybe summarize in one sentence, because I want to be considered at the time, like why you don't like Sonic?
I'll try and do it in the
I'm unacquainted,
smallest,
and I'm sure others are
Yeah.
too. Yeah, go ahead.
the lowest words. I'll make a video on this one day.
Why I don't like Sonic?
Shit
Angry critic.
gameplay, cringe IP.
Wait. What year? What was your first Sonic game?
Good question. I think it was. Well, I've been playing them since. Well, playing them. I've played the original. And I've played 06. I've played Adventures. I've played a bunch, and there's not one that I've enjoyed.
Wait. You've played a bunch?
Yeah. And the racing games, I play those, and I like those. But
you've played a bunch, and you don't like him. But you've played a bunch.
Correct, Tina.
Yeah, because
I think I see what Tina's going for here. Like, but if you kept playing it, then you must have liked it to some degree. But he's a
well,
he's
no,
a
because
fucking
I've like
critic,
played the
Tina.
originals, don't really like them. Oh, we've had a shift into a different perspective. I'll play some of the 3D ones. Don't really like them. Play the racing games. Do like those, but they've got nothing to do with Sonic. And then there's 06. We're going to a new generation. Maybe it's better. Cool. No. Oh, the ones on Wii. There's a new control scheme. Maybe it's better. No. It's not my cup of tea. And now that I know how those games are put together, I'm just like, and I'm viewing it from a designer's eye, I'm like baffled by some of the design decisions, and I'm just like, yeah. And I just, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it in general. Not to yuck on your yum. If you like it, Eric, go for it. Like if you like Sonic, Eric, that's up to you. I'm not gonna say you're a bad person for it, or am I? That's the question.
So you don't like running really fast and seeing something pop up on screen, and in a fraction of a second it hurts you, and you're not running fast anymore.
And then you lose all momentum, and you lose, you lose all your rings, and yeah, I just like my games to be good. Actually, I will say this: Sonic Mania is good. That's a good game.
Sonic Mania.
But yeah, but that's made by that was made by, and I think funded by Sega, but made by an independent team. Like it's fans who used to make mods. That game's good. But Sega have been fumbling this IP for like forever, and people are still like, woo. It's like I don't get it. I really don't get it. Maybe I'm just a Mario fanboy.
What was the Shadow the Hedgehog game where he had a rocket
gun
launcher on the cover?
Yeah.
Oh, it's called Shadow the Hedgehog.
Shadow the Hedgehog, yeah.
Do you consider that a fumble?
I think, ironically, for a game about going fast and having successive fast steps forward, they have been tripping at every single step. Like every game.
Save that one for your blog, Jay.
I know, right? I don't want to stay on Sonic too much because I'm sure all the Sonic OC fans are gonna come for my throat. But whatever.
For those who are listening, Jay has a Sonic 3D head on top of him, and he looks pissed.
I do. Yeah, and I feel nothing.
Wow.
I feel dead inside.
Feel dead inside.
Maybe,
okay,
yeah.
well,
I feel like Sonic's lost the joy. Yeah. But yeah, but seriously, I am half joking about all of this.
Sorry.
If you enjoy Sonic, I don't think any less of you. You enjoy whatever you like. I'm just not a big fan.
For people who are listening, I want to say this because there's people who listen and don't watch. Eric has made a forcefully sad face on Jay through a filter, and Jay looks
terrifying.
Yeah, it's really making me uncomfortable.
It's widened my nose. What the fuck?
Eric, can you turn that off, please? I don't like it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let me just quickly check. I think that was our last dono. Thank you so much. We didn't get a dono for like fuck Jay, I love Sonic, which is fair. I just want to say thank you to Eric. Yeah, podcast producer in the background, getting everything sorted for us. I want to say thank you to Mikey for joining, and Tina for being here for 15% of the podcast.
I need to make it up to you guys. This is not cool. I hate every time
it's all good. These things happen.
Into the room. There's no power. No power here.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. Next episode, we'll have you talk for 90% of it, so people can get their Tina fix.
I'm gonna praise Kingdom Hearts until the.
Wait. I'm sorry. Wait. Real quick. The Helldivers 2 dono. Do we want to show Tina that one? Just take a second.
What is this?
So we had a donation that was specifically for you, Tina.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, and it said, after hearing it last week, I'd love Tina's Valley Girl impression as a Helldivers voice pack. Could you give us your Valley Girl voice and say something like dropping a hell bomb or like
How about just for
watch out?
democracy?
Yeah. Give us a Helldivers line.
So it's for democracy, and we're gonna drop so many bombs, and it's gonna be awesome. Would you follow that into battle? I don't think
Oh yeah. 100%. Follow the voice.
She sounds very sure of herself, doesn't she?
Follow the vocal fry. It's over there. That's where the enemies are.
The way she was like, I imagine that's like she's a team leader, right? And she's
she's like, fascists are so yuck.
Wait, we got a couple more. Oh no, I've called in the Sonic fans.
You called in the Sonic
fans? I don't know. Mirif says $2 and says, "Fuck Sonic, I love Jay?" Question mark.
Right.
Deeves says, "Fuck Jay, I love Sonic." Oh my god, the yin and yang.
Oh fuck! Wait! Jay, look at the screen. Eric has drawn. Did you draw this, Eric? No. This looks like fucking MS Paint from 1995.
Okay, I
yeah.
Just to sidetrack, I'm reading the comments now. Someone said that I need to do a Halloween game or a scary game for Halloween, and I will do that to make up for today.
Okay, there we go. We'll do a Tina stream where she does a spunky spirit game.
What scary game should she do?
Can we find a way of getting access to the PT demo? I've been watching Tina play the PT demo. Would be great.
Won't that be?
Is that even around still?
Yeah, I think maybe there might be like an emulation of it, or
okay.
We'll find a PS4 with it loaded on it, and we'll steal it and we'll send it to you.
Oh my god!
We'll find another spooky.
Scary though. I mean, I don't remember the PT demo very well.
Yeah. It's spooky.
Okay,
it's spooky.
I want to see something not too jump scary because that feels like cheap. I want to see something like we did last time, right?
There's the game I want to play with you too for a gaming stream. Do you remember what it was? The one where you yell magic tricks out loud? I think Jay would love that.
Why? Because I used to be a magician. I didn't used to yell spell names when I did magic.
Tina, people who are magicians can be other things too.
You know what? We can play that game, and I'll use that voice when we play.
Fireball.
So you just sound like a
lightning bolt,
a dopey person, a bimbo at a magic show.
Mm-hmm.
That's the intention.
Alakazam. All right. Thank you, everyone. Eric, Mikey, and Tina, for joining. Thank everyone in chat for hanging about and listening, and all of your wonderful donations and questions in regards to this topic. If you guys have any ideas for potential topics for the future, and also if you enjoyed that section where we, called out all of the developer quotes, again, big shout out to Tina for that wonderful idea. If you guys like it, let us know in the Dev Heads chat in Discord, and we'd love to hear your feedback for all of this. So yeah, I think it's about time to wrap it up. So from everyone here, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.